We received an order to take cover. A Sukhoi jet was taking off. We thought it wasn't coming for us. Turns out it was.
Caminando me canta el sensontle, voy sanando un poco mi dolor. Se oscurece la sombra del monte, voy tranquilo sin una razón. Caminando acompaño al sensontle, vuela encima de mi canción. Caminando me canso en el monte, voy tranquilo con mi corazón. ¿Para qué caminar sin camino? ¿Para qué la nostalgia en la flor? ¿Para qué andar buscando destino? ¿Para qué acompañar?
When the occupation and annexation of the Crimean Peninsula happened in 2014, the drilling platforms in the Black Sea were seized around the same time as well. That is, alongside Ukraina, there are also platforms like Tavrida, MSP-17, CDP-7, Petro Hodovanets, and Su-30, MSP-6, MSP-6 number 2, and MSP-19. In 2022, Zmyiny Island was occupied. By controlling the Black Sea waters, the Russian Federation essentially cut off our access to shipping and the use of the Black Sea in general. The return of Zmyiny Island wasn't some spontaneous idea. We received that mission almost immediately after it was captured. And all of us understood that the next logical step would be to move on to the platforms and begin raids along the Crimean coast.
At the same time, different units were assigned to carry out raids on different platforms. I was assigned to Petro Hodovanets, Bratstvo got Su-30, and the second detachment, named after Vladislav Beleshenko, was assigned MSP-17.
Well, our mission was to assault the platforms that had been taken by the enemy. We were the group stationed on platforms we had already recaptured. Our task was to cover the rear for the guys.
Basically, everyone reached their assigned platforms, everyone completed their part. Then we all regrouped and added a bit more. We really gave them a solid pounding on Petro Hodovanets.
Hola, amigos!
When you first get onto a platform, at first it's really, well, you're in the middle of the sea, and first of all, for some time you've got limited water, limited food, all of that, you know? Plus, it's really hard to sleep there. It heats up. It's just a metal box.
At first, when you look at the photos or read about it online in open sources, even when you approach it by boat, from a distance it doesn't seem that big or massive. But once we got right up close and started boarding, inspecting the platform, taking it under guard and setting up defenses, we were really surprised by its scale. It's a huge offshore structure.
A massive beast in the middle of the sea. Not a simple structure in terms of how it's built and how it's supposed to function out there. You can imagine how many human resources and how much money was spent to build this thing. And considering the fire damage that was inflicted on them, you realize just how powerful they are.
Вас следы я тебя давно не видел, могу не узнать, могу задавить, блин, цепом. Я помогу. Привет, друг.
I was at the headquarters. We got the mission and started planning. At the time, nearly all of Timur's special unit was involved in the operations. So we all gathered at Central HQ, planned things out, assigned roles, who would go to which platform. Once the planning was done, we split people up, who would be in which boat.
The weather wasn't exactly pleasant for the job, to be honest. The storm means wind, waves, they were pretty high, plus poor visibility. Basically, you're at the mercy of the elements. But it's also incredibly thrilling. It's cool because you feel the power. You feel how small you are compared to the force you're in. At that time, if I'm not mistaken, there was something like 10 or 12 boats. So yeah, pretty large flotilla, for sure.
First we arrived at the staging point and waited for the others coming from a different location. We waited for about an hour, just drifting out there in the sea. Then, all the boats came together, formed up into combat formation.
And when you've got a large flotilla of boats, it's really tough. You realize just how close you are to each other. Plus, you know there could be an airstrike from the enemy at any moment. You need room to maneuver. You have to stay focused on your sector, your people. Who's on your right, who's on your left.
It was chaotic, lots of boats, and hard to manage. There were many people, there were many different units and different departments involved.
Before we started using our small arms, there was an FPV drone attack. An attack with BECs, so-called Maguros. I think there was also a missile strike on the platform itself. And then we began to approach. And somewhere from 1.5, maybe 2 kilometers out, we started firing with small arms and heavy calibers.
If you compare it to something, it's kind of like storming a big building, but you're in a tough spot. You're on the sea, getting rocked by waves. They've got the advantage: higher ground, sandbags, and firing positions.
Ballistics are ruthless. Yeah, you've got all that motion. Even if you can clearly see the target, you can't shoot accurately. Ballistics are ruthless.
So we were making runs on the platform, and at the same time, even as we were still approaching, there was already a Sukhoi jet in the sky. We hadn't even finished forming up into combat formation before we had to break off and scatter.
I figure they saw the big flotilla and immediately caught on. Saw there were a shitload of boats. That's probably why the Sukhoi showed up. At first we're like, so what? Sukhoi jets, whatever. But then you start to hear it. You're in the dark, looking at this massive structure, and you hear it getting closer, the roar of the engines. You hear it dropping a bit and slowing down to release a cluster bomb. At that point, you feel and see absolutely everything, crystal clear.
And that went on for about 2 hours. We were already running low on ammo and fuel.
Yeah, because we were sticking to the timing. We had already been hitting the platform for quite a while. I think there were 2 or 3 airstrikes by the Sukhoi during that time. With the weather and the distance, we burned through a shitload of fuel on the boats. If we kept going, we wouldn't have had enough fuel. Not even for the full trip back, maybe not even half.
We tried to make a run once. The Sukhoi came in, we pulled back. Second time, same thing. Third time too. Yeah, we tried about 3 times. Then, a general order came to fall back. And right at that moment, the Sukhoi was shot down.
9:27 вспышка в воздухе с падением на море. Ну, 9:27 наблюдал вспышку в воздухе, которая переходит на морскую поверхность. 9:27, 03 отхожу.
Нашел деталь, похожую на законцовку самолета. Да, что-то, не знаю, антенна, может быть, конец крыла.
Ти вже коли зробив маневр,
Once you'd made the maneuver, the guys on the other boat were already firing at it with manpads. And I actually saw something hit the Sukhoi in the sky. Something lit it up. Something came falling down. But again, you have to keep your eyes forward. There were lots of boats. You can't afford to crash into anyone. So okay, it happened. Awesome. You managed to pull back? Awesome. They didn't hit you? Everyone's alive? Awesome. Everything else? Well, okay.
коли збили сушку, я отримав естетичний.
When the Sukhoi got shot down, I got a real sense of satisfaction. I mean, I got a kick out of it. We fucked up those bastards in a jet. I'd never done anything like that before. The jet costs a shitload of money. And on top of that, it clearly had a psychological effect on them. We took down their plane. And after that, their pilots didn't fly for a while. And when they did, they only stayed in their own patrol zones. They didn't enter our sector anymore.
It's important to understand that everything we did, the raids, the landing on the Crimean coast, and the strikes on enemy-held platforms, was, in a way, a slap in the face to their pride and dignity. Naturally, the enemy took offense, so to speak, and decided to respond in kind. They launched missiles, the so-called Ha series, from aircraft. There were multiple strikes, including on Ukraina, on Zmyny, and also on Tavrida. With Tavrida, the situation was that one of the hits caused a fire. Specifically, a pipeline that delivered gas caught fire.
We knew that on that date there would likely be something more interesting, because 2 days earlier they had taken a shot at us and missed us, just barely.
Yeah, I was on the OP and there was a strike just in front of it, maybe 100 meters away. It was a solid hit. The blast wave rose higher than the platform.
So here's how it looked. A guy's just standing there. He's on duty in body armor watching the area. I say, yeah, they told us something's incoming. I warned them to be careful, but said we needed someone with manpads. And then he starts telling it like, I'm watching 2 jets flying in, he says.
It was actually just one.
And then he realized it was a missile. We were ready. I mean, we had everything. An evacuation plan. We'd scattered water and food across different ends of the platform. We were expecting an assault, like some kind of counteraction from them. I figured something would hit us first, and then they'd come by sea. I gave the order for everyone to get to shelter. Guys, into the shelter. Everyone grabbed their gear. We also took gas masks with us. We waited for about 10 minutes. We were already down below, all sitting there, and yeah, when it finally hit, I swear. I thought we all did a full 360 down there. KH series missiles, 2 of them.
Yeah, at that moment, by the way, we were actually storming the platforms. And when their platform was being shelled, somewhere over that way, you could see it perfectly. A glow lit up the sky. It was lighting it all up.
I was the first to go out and check which area was safe to relocate to, because the ceiling above us was already on fire. The flames were coming down at us. We moved down into the basement. Flames were everywhere, and everything was burning. There were still munitions lying around, Russian ones too. Half an hour later, we were fully ready, and I said we needed to let someone rest a bit, because those f***ers would take time. They wouldn't show up right away, they'd have to sail over. So we started preparing to meet them.
They had no comms. We had no comms. And the boats that were approaching, well, at that moment, you didn't know they were ours, right?
Yeah, first of all, they didn't even know we were alive. They had no idea. But we had everything planned out, took up our positions, and that was it. We held the platform from there.
And on top of that, they'd just been hit. Their blood was running hot. They're looking around, more boats are approaching, no idea if they're ours or not, but somehow, I don't even know how, we managed to communicate, and it all went pretty smoothly in the end.
Все на месте? Давайте проверим. Хуёво было. Я думал, ты уже все. Я думал, вы все умерли, на самом деле. Пока не увидел, что вы бегаете там по горелому. Тобто це одна із операцій.
That was just one of the operations, and there were close to a dozen like it. All last summer, we kept hammering the enemy, actively, constantly, not letting them relax for a moment. We were genuinely driving them into a state of panic.
Ты просто сидишь в железном ящике, хохлы подплывают на катере, запускают 30 дронов, 30 дронов, нахуй, и хуярят тебя, нахуй, ФВПшками этими ебаными, блядь. Охуенно же, да?
Paso firme recorro en el filo de la vida entre el bien y entre el mal. Los caminos nos llevan distinto y yo sé que ya no volverás. ¿Para qué caminar el camino? ¿Para qué la nostalgia en la flor? ¿Para qué andar buscando destino? ¿Para qué acompañar mi canción? Al camino por camino y al amor por el amor.